I'm Charlene. Oh, gosh. I'm Charlene Caruthers. I'm the National Director of BYP 100. We organize young black people across the U.S. And I wanted to comment on and build on what some of the things that Opal and Monica shared around people who are left out of the conversation and even how we tell the story. So it's important to know that Black Lives Matter, the network, the platform, was co-created by 3 black women, including 2 black women who are queer. It's important to have women at the table in the peace talks. The intervention that is as important that is happening in the US right now is also centered in the stories of how black women, queer, and trans people are criminalized, policed, and experience violence at the hands of the state and also interpersonal violence. That is a huge characteristic of our movement right now. And what that looks like is just as important as the story of Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown have been, so is the story of young black women like Rekia Boyd have been to our movement in mobilizing people across the country, right? Where I sat in a courtroom with Rekia Boyd's mom during the court case of the police officer who killed her, Dante Servin, and she sat next to me in both her grief and her resilience, and she said, you know, they never talk about black women and girls. They never talk about how police kill us, how police rape us, how police violate us. And then about a month later, we had a National Day of Action focusing on ending state violence against black women and girls and femmes that included the Black Lives Matter Network, Ferguson Action, BYP 100, several organizations across the country. We were in well over a dozen cities. And for us, that was a key intervention in saying we have to broaden our analysis of what state violence looks like to include black women and girls. And also, when we talk about black women, we mean all black women. We mean black women who are transgender. We mean black women who are incarcerated, black women who are domestic workers, all black women who are migrants and immigrants. And that is imperative if we're talking about activism right now. Like it can't, in our work in black organizing, in left radical black organizing, yes, it is about anti-black racism, and it has a deep gendered analysis that is rooted in radical black feminist movements, right? So we talk about the civil rights movement. Just as important to that has been the black feminist movement and the radical sectors of the LGBTQ movement in the US. So Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman. So I would be remiss if we had this whole conversation about movement in the US and didn't build on what Opal started around, yeah, it's about young black men and boys, and we are doing critical interventions, critical work around ending patriarchy and all of its cousins, transphobia, homophobia, and that's like, it's critical for us to move on our growing edges. That's what Patrisse Cullors would always talk about. What are our growing edges in movement? And I implore everybody to think about that. Who's not at the table? If it's Fannie Lou Hamer would say all of us or none of us, and even as black people, we're